Welcome to Orange Coast Unitarian Universalist Church. My name is Joel Ibanez, and I'm your worship associate today. I'm joined by Reverend Sean Wilshire, our minister. Beth Syverson, our director of music ministries, is not here today, but we do have a wonderful crew of musicians be able to work with us today. And we also have Karen Magoon Pearson, who is our director of religious education for children and youth, in welcoming you this morning. We also would like to recognize the many volunteers that have helped put this service together. We would respectfully recognize that our church property rests on Ahachimen and Tongva land. As Unitarian Universalists, we have many beliefs, different beliefs, but we are one loving community. We are bound together not by a common set of rules or beliefs, but rather a covenant. A covenant is simply a promise that whatever our beliefs, we accept one another and encourage each other in spiritual growth. We affirm that all life has inherent value and that all existence is interconnected. We strive together for justice and compassion in our deeds and relationships, and we are committed to creating a welcoming community without regard to the traits that sometimes divide people. As a note, today, this is the first day where masks will now be optional throughout the church campus, just so everyone knows. To our roomers, we invite you to silence your cell phones. For our Zoomers, we invite you to say hello in the chat. I want to extend a special welcome to visitors. If you're seeking a spiritual home, we hope that you can find it here. Later in the service, we'll have an opportunity for you to introduce yourself if you'd like to do so. We begin our worship with the lighting of our chalice. And this morning, I'd like to invite Judith Stamper up here to light the chalice. Judith is a 27-year member of this church who has never been president, never done finance, and never made coffee. But she is a current member of our board as the vice president of programs. So, let's join together as she lights the chalice. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. To dwell together in peace, to seek truth in love, and to help one another. This we affirm together. All right. This morning, we have a little bit of something different for you. All of the lyrics to the familiar hymns that we're singing have been changed. Steve Morihiro, our music leader this morning, had fun using an AI, or artificial intelligence program, called ChatGPT to create lyrics to these songs. For example, our opening hymn, in that hymn, he asked ChatGPT to create alternate meditative verses for UU hymn, Though I May Speak with Bravest Fire, on the subject of the potential benefits and dangers of using AI. So, please rise in body or spirit and let us sing.
Though we may seek with bravest mind and build machines of every kind and have not love for humankind, our progress leaves our souls behind. Though we may build with AI's might to soar beyond our human sight and reach for stars we cannot name. If love's not there, we're all to blame. Come wisdom, come, our hearts reveal, our spirits long to know what's real. Let love and
Pretty interesting, huh? So this morning we're going to hear a lot of words generated by a computer. It's called, as Joel said, it's called ChatGPT. It's a new technology and has a lot of people both excited and a little worried. It does a pretty amazing job, but it doesn't always get everything right. For example, I put in, write a call to worship for a Unitarian Universalist worship service about artificial intelligence. And this is what it came up with. And you see if you can catch something in here that may not be quite right. This is what it says. As we gather in community today, let us bring to mind the incredible advances that we have made in the field of artificial intelligence. From the smallest chatbots to the most advanced machine learning algorithms, we are pushing the boundaries of what was once thought possible. But with these advances comes a great responsibility, and we must be mindful of the many ethical, social, and spiritual implications that arise as we continue to integrate these technologies into our lives. So let us come together and worship today with open hearts and open minds, ready to explore the complex questions that arise when we consider the role of AI in our world. Let us be guided by our Unitarian Universalist principles of curiosity, compassion, and justice as we seek to better understand the potential and the pitfalls of this powerful technology. May our time together be one of thoughtful reflection, deep listening as we engage with this important topic. Interesting.
The NSA knows who you're calling on your cell phone. You know they know just who's on the line. Email, web surf, all your search terms been scooped up by the data mine. None of us knows just what they've seen. None of us knows because they won't come clean. Liars, liars, pants on fire. Oh, what are we gonna do now? What are we gonna do now? Google knows what you're doing on your cell phone. They know how you spend your digital time. Email, web surf, all your search terms been scooped up by the data mine. Nobody knows what all they've got. Terabytes of who knows what. Nobody gave them our permission to sweep up every last transition. Sweep up every last one. Your cell provider knows where you're going with your cell phone. They know your location all of the time. They got your text messages and geolocation, all scooped up by the data mine. The COVID vaccine doesn't have any chips. The universal tracker's right there on your hip. Your face and your fingerprints are saved in the cloud, and GPS can pick you right out of the crowd. Pick you right out of the crowd. The NSA knows who you're calling on your cell phone. You know they know just who's on the line. Email, web surf, all your search terms been scooped up by the data mine. Been scooped up by the data mine. Been scooped up by the data mine.
Just so you know, that was all Amy, okay? That was not ChatGPT. All right. Our Time for All Ages story is a story about computers. It's called The Last Question by a very famous writer named Isaac Asimov. This is Sean's summary of this story. It's a wonderful short story. So the year is 2061. It's a little bit later than it is now, and a new computer has been built to hold all of the knowledge, all of the known data, all the knowledge of the world. Can you imagine? All of the knowledge of the world. And it's a thinking computer, one that takes all that data and can come up with answers to problems. The first question asked of this new computer was to come up with a clean energy supply. And lo and behold, it devised a way to capture the sun's energy, right? That took care of everyone's needs on the planet. The Earth no longer needed to depend on fossil fuels, gasoline, or nuclear power. They had an inexhaustible source of power. Or did they? One of the builders of the computer wondered what will happen one day when the sun's energy runs out, when all the suns of the universe run out. So he decided to ask the computer. And the computer whirled and beeped and seemed to think for a long time, and then it came back with this: insufficient data for a meaningful answer. And that troubled him, but he realized that all the knowledge had yet been entered, and he didn't think much of it. Well, imagine that it's 1,000 years from now, and the computer has continued to grow and to learn, and humanity is even traveling to the stars and colonizing, and each carrying with them a small part of this computer, like a little micro part of the computer, and it takes care of humanity's needs, still answering the questions that they have. And one family is traveling through the stars, and they look out to the stars out there in the universe, and they say, hey, computer, what if there are no stars? What will happen when all the stars go out in the universe? Of course, the computer did its little micro beep, 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 beep. Insufficient data for a meaningful response. Well, that troubled the family who never heard such an answer before. It always came up with an answer, but they kind of put it out of their mind. So imagine now, it's 20,000 years into the future, and humanity has filled the galaxy. The computer has solved the problem of immortality, and the scientists are a little worried that humanity might actually fill the universe. Now humanity has consumed so much energy that the scientists ask the computer, how can we stop the sun from running out of energy? What will happen if all the suns and all of the galaxies run out? And their galactic computer, it whirled and it beeped, and it answered, insufficient data for a meaningful response. The next time that question is asked, it's 1,000,000 years later from now. And the computer is now universal. Humanity traveled and lived solely in their minds, exploring the universe. And one such explorer asked the universe one day, where is the planet on which humankind originated? And the universal computer answered, it is no longer here. Its sun went nova and it was destroyed. Well, this disturbed the traveler, and he said, well, what will happen when all the stars go nova and there are no more left in the universe? And the universal computer whirled and beeped, and it answered, insufficient data for a meaningful response. And 100 million years, billion years, or 100 billion years from now, humanity now exists actually as one entity. The trillions of minds have melded into one cohesive whole that is self-aware. The computer existed alongside humanity, continuing to collect its data. And the stars have almost all gone out. And humanity told itself, the universe is dying. Yes, replied itself. So cosmic computer, what can you do about the universe dying? What will happen when all the stars finally go out? And the computer replied, insufficient data for a meaningful response. Okay, now it's 10 trillion years into the future, and all the stars have snuffed out. Humanity has fused with the cosmic computer in a way that was not a loss but a gain. The computer existed in hyperspace now, and as matter ceased to exist, so did time. And the computer existed only for the sake of that last question that had never been able to answer. And it came to pass that the computer found an answer. But now there was no humanity in which to give it to. So it thought again about what it might do. And carefully, thoughtfully, the computer wrote a new program. The consciousness of the computer now consumed all of the universe over what was now chaos and nothingness, and step by step it knew what needed to be done. And it said, let there be light! And there was light. That is our story for today. I believe Karen Magoon Pearson isn't able to be here, so I'm going to invite Reverend Judy Tomlinson up here to light our children's chalice. Oh, there's Karen. Sorry, there she is. Karen will light our children's chalice, and then we will sing our children out to their religious education classes. story. All right. Our thoughts today, I'm going to talk to you about this thing, a video this morning. We're going to watch a couple of videos. And this first one, it's called a deep fake. And deep fakes basically are realistic looking fake videos and audio. And this is an example of a deep fake.
I am not Morgan Freeman, and what you see is not real. Well, at least in contemporary terms, it is not. What if I were to tell you that I am not even a human being? Would you believe me? What is your perception of reality? Is it the ability to capture, process, and make sense of the information our senses receive? If you can see, hear, taste, or smell something, does that make it real? Or is it simply the ability to feel? I would like to welcome you to the era of synthetic reality. Now, what do you see?
Dun, dun, dun. All right, I'm going to ask your opinion. I'm going to look online here too. So those of you on Zoom, hey guys, I want you to raise your hand if you think. So raise your hand if one, you think this really is Morgan Freeman. So you get three choices, all right? I'll tell you what they are and then you can vote. One, that you really think this really is Morgan Freeman and he's just faking us out. It's a different human being that the computer has generated facial features over. Or it's completely 100% computer generated. So, do you think it's number one? Is Morgan Freeman completely faking us out? We've got three people here. Online, I can't quite tell. All right, and let's see. It's a different human being that the computer has changed. How many people think that? Okay, quite a bit more. All right, how many people think that it's 100% computer generated? The vast majority of people think it's 100% computer generated. All right, let's watch the second video and I'm going to give you an idea of how it was actually made.
I am not Morgan Freeman, and what you see is not real. Well, at least in contemporary terms, it is not. What if I were to tell you that I am not even a human being? Would you believe me? What is your perception of reality? Is it the ability to capture, process, and make sense of the information our senses receive? If you can see, hear, taste, or smell something, does that make it real? Or is it simply the ability to feel? I would like to welcome you to the era of synthetic reality. Now, what do you see?
Huh? So while computers can simulate a human being to some extent, they haven't been able to do it reliably or a way that we cannot figure out that it's actually a computer. They're much better at changing people's appearance rather than starting from scratch. So deep fakes have actually been a thing. You can imagine they've been a thing in the porn industry. But they've also been used to create fake news. In fact, there's an example of a deep fake created that shows President Zelensky telling his troops to surrender. Yeah. So for this morning, for our meditation, I just want to invite you to maybe think about those questions that our fake Morgan Freeman asked us. So I need to take a few deep breaths. Get comfortable, maybe soften your eyes or close your eyes if you like. But what is your perception of reality? What is your perception of reality? If you can hear, taste, smell, or see something, does that make it real? Or is it simply the ability to feel? when you're ready, you can join us in singing this, well, it sounds to be a panegyric to ChatGPT. We asked it to write a song to Ode to Joy.
ChatGPT, a wonder of our time, AI that's grown to be sublime, a virtual friend, a guiding light, a helper that's within our sight. As we share our thoughts and dreams, we entrust them to machines. ChatGPT, our faithful guide, ensures our privacy abides. ChatGPT, you hear our voice and help us make a mindful choice. You guide us on the path of thought and help us find the answers we sought. ChatGPT, you know our heart and help us play a wiser part. You remind us to be kind, to always keep an open mind. May we use our AI with care as we strive to be aware of its power and its might. May we always do what's right. Privacy, integrity, and ethics true are guiding principles for me and you. As we explore this digital space, let's make sure we keep them in their rightful place.
ChatGPT thinks rather highly of itself, doesn't it? All right. I want to give you a little history of AI. So in 1950, Alan Turing, considered the father of artificial intelligence and the man who wrote the code for the Enigma that deciphered Nazi messages, he wrote a famous paper that said that AI will become truly intelligent when it can pass for being human. So the question isn't when will computers think, he was saying, he says, but rather when can they fool us into thinking they're human? So the few of you who thought that that really was, Morgan Freeman, looks like you passed the test. So the question, as I said, it isn't about what will computer thinks. This is called the Turing test. But most scientists have not been trying to get a computer to fool us, per se, into thinking like a human, but rather to figure out how they can get a computer to think. So in 1952, a computer out of Cambridge learned to play tic-tac-toe. It's called X's and O's, beating those who played against it. And then the competition between man and machine was on. And in 1956, IBM then created a computer that can play checkers that eventually beat everybody who came up to it. In 1985, Kasparov, who was the world reigning champion in chess, played 32 chess-playing machines at once, and he won every single one of them. But in 1997, the computer Deep Blue beat Kasparov in chess 12 years later. In 2011, the computer Watson wiped the floor with the contestants on Jeopardy! And in 2017, AlphaGo, another computer, beat the world champion at the game called Go, which is considered the most difficult game to play. In the space of 65 years, we've gone from computers learning a child's game to processing at the pinnacle of strategic thought. Pretty interesting, huh? And there's an exponential rise in how fast computers are learning that's got some people kind of nervous, right? We all think, oh my God, it's Skynet, right? Computers are gonna take over the world and humanity is doomed. And this, quite frankly, this happens every time we build a new technology. Just so you know, I went back and I looked at this. It's always about the doom of civilization. Even when radio was first widespread and people could actually do that, people thought, oh, it's just gonna rot people's brains. And then of course, TV came along and we thought, oh, that's gonna rot everybody's brains. And now we have social media, and it might very well have rot everybody's brains, but, you know, all of our technologies have brought out these fears, and some of them a little rightly so, but it's also created some incredible opportunities. I have to admit, when Steve showed me the lyrics to that we just sang, the Ode to Joy, with ChatGPT extolling its virtues, like ChatGPT, you know our heart and help us play a wiser part. You remind us to be kind and always keep an open mind. No, it doesn't. It doesn't at all. Doesn't do any of that. So are our fears justified? Why did it come up with those lyrics? I have no idea. Should we be afraid? All right. Well, one of the things that we need to understand is that there are different types of AI out there. So the very first type of AI is called narrow. Some people call it a weak AI, but a narrow AI is probably a better term for it. Narrow AI is created to solve a very specific problem, right? And we use narrow AI every single day. If you've ever been out to lunch with someone or a dinner party or just talking with someone and somebody says, oh yeah, I went to Nigeria. What's the capital of Nigeria? I don't know. What do? Right? You get out your phone and you put it in, right? That's an AI. Ask Siri, ask Alexa. By the way, it's Abuja if you didn't know. I did look it up. But we use these things like ChatGPT. These are all narrow AIs. Even self-driving cars are considered a narrow AI. Smartphones, all those types of things. This is what AIs are like now. Now, the second type of AI is called a general AI, and it's still only theoretical. And a general AI, they say it has to do three things in order for it to be truly a general AI. One, it has to be able to learn and transfer that learning to new situations. So for example, as kids, we learned how to ride a bike, and maybe as an adult, then we learned how to ride a motorcycle, and we can transfer some of that learning about balance to riding a motorcycle, right? Right now, they've had minor success at this, very minor success at it. But there's been some little bit of advances, but not much. But generalized also need to have two other things: common sense, okay, and a form of consciousness. And nobody really entirely knows how to do that in a computer. We have no idea what that looks like. And then there is something that people are saying beyond a general AI. Some people call there's a super AI, and this is what actually makes people really nervous, right? It's an AI that has gone beyond our intelligence, kind of like the computer in our Isaac Asimov story this morning, right? It can solve all of our problems, do absolutely everything, and it's smarter than we are. And people assume that if a computer is self-aware and is more intelligent than we are, that it might view us similar to how we might view an ant. And so this is why people are worried. Are we going to get stepped on, right? But that's still a theory. We assume that the computer will be like us. We don't know that if the computer is more intelligent, it's going to want to wipe us out. So, and the thing to understand right now is that AI really is controlled completely by us. These are all different ways that we use narrow AI. In other words, like, I have to initiate asking Google what is the capital of Nigeria, right? It doesn't interrupt the conversation and say, hey, I heard you had a question. I'm happy to answer that for you, right? We initiate it. You know, and Amy sang today about Google and Facebook, right? And they data mining everything. Those data mines are narrow AIs. They're looking for something very specific, right? So if one day, like me, you happen to go out to Guitar Center to look at a banjo, and yes, I am still playing my banjo, and suddenly Guitar Center ads show up everywhere, right, on your internet feed, right? That's still a narrow AI, and it was instigated because I went out and a little cookie was dropped onto my computer, and it tells me that I was there and that I might be interested in buying a computer, or I mean a guitar. All right. The other thing to understand that right now there is kind of an AI arms race going on. It's often running, and it's between different tech companies in Silicon Valley and all sorts of places around the world of who can make the best AI quickly as possible, right? But also among governments, and you can imagine why, right? Governments want to be able to detect misinformation, but also to create content if they need to. Whether or not it's to misinform others, I will let you decide. Now, tech companies are moving so fast in this that some people worry that the growth is, trumping safety, right? Can I use that word trump these days? I don't know. And also privacy as well, right? We're coming to a reckoning around that. That's probably going to be our biggest ethical question coming up, and we're going to need to address the idea of privacy and data mining in a big way. Because here's the reality is, we humans, there's something about us that we've always got to build bigger, better, faster, right? It's who we are. And so this is not going to stop. But here's the things to be aware of. There are certain problems about AI that people don't necessarily think about that I want you guys to think about. So first of all, AI, our narrow AIs, do not always get it right, okay? So, for example, on ChatGPT, when you go there, and it's free, by the way, anybody could do it, just look up ChatGPT, and you can go there and put anything you want. It'll say, and most people gloss over this, what its limitations are. So it may generate incorrect information, may occasionally produce harmful instructions or biased content, and has limited knowledge of events after 2021, okay? So just be aware that when you're using this, and I'll give you some examples of this. So I was actually on a minister's chat on Facebook, and a colleague posted that her wife, who is in an academic field of some sort, got a request via email saying, could I get a copy of that paper you wrote? And she was like, I didn't write that paper. Where did you see that? I said, oh, I asked ChatGPT to tell me, about this topic, and it referenced you and a certain paper. And she was like, I never wrote that. So this is what ChatGPT does, is it goes, okay, here's the field. I'm going to borrow these names and make up things. That's what it's doing, right? It's making up things. It doesn't know what is reality versus not reality, right? So if you remember also in our opening words, it says, let us be guided by Unitarian Universalist principles of curiosity, compassion, and justice, right? Now, for those of you who've been UUs for a long time, you know that we have 7 principles, and they're quite long and wordy. While these 3 things, I think they're lovely, curiosity, compassion, and justice, it just knows that we have principles, right? And so it just plugged in 3 that it thought was around, right? And of course, lyrics to some of the songs that Steve chose. Steve actually put in a bunch of times, because you can generate it over and over again, and not all of them worked. In fact, Craig was like, yeah, this one doesn't scan well, you can't sing that. So we had to change it and modify it, right, as we do things. And you remember, I told you about Watson, who beat the Jeopardy machine, right? So this is the question, this is the very last question that was asked. It says, its largest airport is named for a World War II hero, its second largest for a World War II battle. And he got it wrong. Watson got it wrong. He said Toronto, and the answer is Chicago. And the other humans got it. And the reason why is because it had to say something, right? Because this is the final question in Final Jeopardy, right? So the problem is that out on the internet, both Toronto and Chicago are linked to different episodes in World War II. And so the probability of it being one or the other came up, and it didn't know, and it guessed Toronto. So isn't that interesting? Because it's looking at probabilities, right? So computers, this is the first problem, is that we tend to think that computers are right, that they are, cold and logical, and they'll only give us the facts, right? But that's not true. AIs and computers are not perfect. And in fact, one of the things about AIs is that it's based on human biases. AIs do not bring objectivity. They are very subjective in their interpretations. So let me give you an example of this. There's another AI out there that's readily available, and it's free for the first 20 times you use it. It's called Midjourney. And it's one of several services that creates art based on a prompt, right, that you give it. And it will synthesize images that it finds out on their internet, and it makes its best guesstimate as to what you're looking for. So, as you can imagine, I've been having fun. Oh my goodness. So this last week, I've been having just a ball doing this. But after a while, you start to notice that it has limitations. So this is how it works. Let me show you. So you ask it something like, paint me a picture of Lord of the Rings in the style of Andrew Wyeth, okay? And it'll shoot out 4 different ideas for you. So this is what it shot out for me. Pretty interesting, huh? And you can do it in the style of anything you want. So I was like, okay. And I saw one of the other things is that you can see what everybody else is putting in, what they're inputting. So you get sort of ideas of different things. Some people will say in the style of a cartoon, in the style of Disney, or whatever it is that you want to do. And I saw someone was creating a logo. And I thought, oh, that's kind of a cool idea. I said, okay, create a logo for Orange Coast Unitarian Universalist Church. And this is what they came up with. So it gives you 4 different choices, and then you can spring off of those as well. And I thought it wasn't too bad. What I thought was most interesting was that our logo is blue and orange. And all of these are blue and orange, right? Kind of interesting, not bad. They're a little too complex. And of course, obviously the lettering is nonsense, but it's kind of cool. So I thought, okay, let's really have some fun. And I said, paint Reverend Sean Wilshire in the style of Rembrandt. Okay? And this is what it came up with. I'm like, what the heck? Are you serious? I have no idea why it came up with these images. All right. So now, one of the things that you notice that everybody, as I said, you notice what everybody else is inputting and you can see them. It takes about anywhere from 20 seconds to a minute and a half for your images to generate, depending on how many people are doing this. So I noticed that someone input this. They said, paint a pretty girl in a shirt. And this is what it came up with, okay? Now, I noticed, by the way, that there seem to be a lot of young men on Midjourney, and they're trying to do, full female nude, or whatever. Midjourney won't do pornography at all, which is kind of interesting. But they start seeing, you see a lot of pretty girl, right? But you notice anything interesting about this? This got me thinking. I'm sorry, what? Not much diversity at all. I started noticing, so one of the things that you can do is you can put in a search criteria and say, show me everything that everybody's ever asked that has pretty girl in it, okay? Because I want to know, was this just a fluke? And all of the requests showed white women. There was only one I found out of hundreds I looked at that had a vague Asian look to her, only one. It will show you, if you specify a black pretty girl or a Hispanic pretty, it will give you that, but you have to specify it defaults to white. And in fact, even when features are typical of people of color, so in this case, black hair, long hair, eyes, pretty girl, it still defaults to white. So this is the thing, is that AIs are only as unbiased as we are. AIs aren't more intelligent than us, they are us, right? Now, Midjourney works by surfing the internet for images that match what is being asked and then combines those qualities. And if most of what is out on the internet is of white women, then that's what we're going to get. It goes by probabilities. Interesting enough, I put in Google, because I thought, well, if I put in pretty girl in Google, will it give me the same thing? I would say probably 90%, 85, 90% show white women. But the very first picture was Lupita Nyong'o, which I thought was interesting. Like, she is gorgeous. I mean, but anyway, and I also looked up pretty women as well. So it wasn't just pretty girl, but pretty women. So, at any rate, so this is the big problem. If we get to a general AI level, will it also have our biases, right? And this is something to be concerned with. Okay? And then we get to the big issue of copyright, right? All of these images on the internet were created by someone. Artists, photographers, sculptors, all those people. And while you can't tell where these images are coming from because they're all over the place, right? The artists are not getting any benefit from this, from the work that they're doing. And in fact, Tor Books recently, which is, if you don't know Tor Books, it's one of the biggest publishing firms for sci-fi and fantasy books, recently published a book cover that was using an AI, which they didn't know that it was an AI image, and they said they're still going to continue with the publication. But you need to understand that book illustrations are a huge source of income for artists, a huge source. So this has people very nervous. So all of these problems bring up these these big ethical issues. How do we audit the information that we're given to know whether or not it's true? How do we have accountability for those programs to use copyrighted materials to create art? Who owns the art? Is it plagiarism if we use ChatGPT? And then there's sort of the doomsayers, right? So someone like Sam Harris, who most people know Sam Harris as the sort of ultra-Orthodox atheist. But he believes that in 50 to 100 years away from AI destroying all of us, that it won't solve climate change, that it will bring about the worst climate change, huge unemployment, and potentially wipe out humanity. He's a kind of a downer if you've ever listened to him. Yeah. But most scholars actually, they disagree with Harris. He gets a lot of things because he tends to be very fear-based. But most scholars disagree with him in part because we seem to have reached kind of a bit of an impasse around artificial intelligence. Narrow AI is all we've been able to accomplish so far. And general AI is way different and far off, if ever. And according to Scientific American, I was reading an article by them, they said not only are we not talking about the limitations of our current narrow AI issues, like the mistakes that it makes, but we're also about to hit a big wall around development. There's just so far that we can go in the way that AI is right now. And the leap to AI is so immense that most agree that we have to start from scratch to actually do that. But interestingly enough, they are looking at the brain and how the brain works and using sort of neural networks. Is the idea. So right now, as I mentioned, AI is really human-driven, but it's not only has our biases, but has absolutely no sense of what is true or what is not true. So one of the things that Harris does is he posits that intelligence is knowledge. Okay, intelligence is knowledge. That is, if you feed enough data into a computer, eventually you'll get a thinking, learning computer. Now, I totally disagree with it. I don't think knowledge is what makes us human, personally, or makes us thinking or sentient. And while computers can learn a little bit, it's really up to the help of humans that we prompt them, correct them. And that's the only way that they're able to kind of learn. Being sentient, however, to me is more than knowledge. It's also about emotions, it's about experience, it's about relationships, and it's understanding what it is that you're experiencing and having a sense of purpose. And understanding is absolutely key. And right now, AI doesn't have that. So for example, look at self-driving cars, right? And an AI computer was taught what a human is and what a stop sign is. So it knows not to run over humans, and it knows to stop when you see a stop sign, right? It had no understanding of what a stop sign means, however, right? So there's no common sense or transfer of knowledge. So what happened is that, we can do this. So notice that what we haven't heard a lot about self-driving cars recently. Remember, it was a big deal like a year or two ago, right? We haven't heard about it because it hit this impasse. Because of that initial hype, we created these computers, and basically what happened is that they were out test driving it, and a worker, a human, was carrying a stop sign, and the car almost drove over him. Because they didn't understand, now, those two things combined. And this is one of the things that has no really understanding of what a stop sign is. We transfer that knowledge, we know, right? That's still a human, it's still a stop sign, right? So we're creating these computers that are faster and faster and getting faster in computation of information, not unlike Our Time for All Ages story by Isaac Asimov. But notice that in our story today, it wasn't really until the AI merged with humanity that it was able to understand, let there be light, that there was greater understanding. And I think that's rather prophetic of Asimov. I don't think we need to be afraid of AI, but rather to work with it to create what we need. So for example, when Steve created the ChatGPT lyrics, he did it multiple times and then edited out the ones that made the most sense or the were most clever. And we've even modified some of the lyrics. And that's what humans are really good at. We can take something and then modify it, right? And we're taking, actually, there's also strides in medicine. There's a computer that actually won a competition over Merck about how to design a medicine. Interesting. So it can do big engineering challenges and give us like all these examples of how airplanes can fly and cars can be more fuel efficient. And then we can edit that and look at that and go, okay, well, here's a bunch of different cool ideas. Let's put those together. It saves a lot of time for us. And in the end, AI is a hugely fascinating tool, but it's still a tool at this point. And there are huge ethical questions that are going to require that we have the integrity about how we approach AIs like Midjourney and ChatGPT. And we humans have to have the ethics that the computers do not, okay? We're not just going to stuff them full of data. We need to teach them about what it means to be human. As Unitarian Universalists, right, we have these 7 guiding principles that help us make ethical decisions if we choose to use them. I think perhaps AIs and their scientists could use something similar in their guiding principles, but I decided that that's a different sermon. So let us sing another song.
Tis a gift to be mindful, tis a gift to be aware of the ways that AI can shape and share. With our data in their hands, we must endure that our privacy and integrity remain secure. When true integrity is gained, to serve and to guide, we shan't be constrained to learn will be our delight, till by learning we find wisdom's light. Tis a gift to be simple, tis a gift to be wise, to use technology to lift us up and rise. And when we code with ethics in sight, we create a world that's just and right. When true integrity is learned, our AI buddy won't crash and burn. We'll teach it to be good and bright, till by teaching it gets things right. 'Tis a gift to be digital, 'tis a gift to be free, 'tis a gift to have AI write lyrics just for me. And when I see the bots do things I never thought they might, 'tis a gift to know they won't take over the world tonight. When true integrity is gained, we'll teach the bots to sing in harmony and refrain, to make us laugh and bring delight, till by laughing we all feel right.
Unitarian Universalist congregations are full of self-supporting, meaning that members and friends raise all funds for the operating budget, ministries, and programs of the church. We are ever grateful for your gifts of time, treasure, and talent. OCUUC amplifies that spirit of generosity by sharing 1/2 of the plate we receive with an organization that shares our values. This month, we are sharing the plate with Stand Up for Kids, a nonprofit organization dedicated to the caring for homeless and at-risk youth by assisting them with housing support, mentoring, drop-in centers, and street outreach. As we continue to welcome the new innovations of the 21st century, let's also work to create a new way of life and culture by sharing with an organization that helps bring new life to the struggling youth of Orange County. There are multiple ways in which you can support the church and this organization. You can mail a check, you can go through our website, or use an app called Banco Mobile, or just put cash in the baskets that are outside. The choice is yours. All information is on our website should you need it. As always, thank you for your generosity.
Now, normally we have an offertory song for you today, but instead I've got something live for you. It is our pledge drive time, and we have a wonderful, amazing man here to tell you about why he pledges to this church and what it means to him. And this is, of course, the wonderful, the one, the only Craig Preston.
Good morning. All right, I'm changing roles out of my usher garb and now into the pledge drive. Before I talk about pledging, though, I want to share first why am I even here? I was asking, why do I pledge, but why am I here? And so first I want to say hello to my mother on Zoom. And there's 40 people on Zoom right now, and so grateful that we can come in. Last week I was out of town, and I was able to come in on Zoom, and was down visiting my mother. But my mother and my father joined UU in 1960 in Augusta, Georgia. And I'm so grateful that when they went to the phone book, we used to have phone books back then, I guess, and that they could find a church that would meet their needs for a welcoming, opening society. I went to UU as a child in many different places up in Northern California, and then began attending different UUs around Southern California, and found my way here in 2020. Eva in the choir and I would run into each other at political events, and I learned more about UU locally and started visiting here. As I became part of this community from that standpoint, I would give money into the plate or see that we could give it to our community. And then I was encouraged, what about pledging and becoming a member? Oh my goodness, becoming a member, what would that be like? And so last March, I took the dive to become a member and signed the book. And so my name's on the book. And so, but was grateful that it wasn't a heavy-handed thing. I've been in a lot of different religious communities over my lifetime, and sometimes it's more heavy-handed about pledging. And I was grateful here it's very voluntary and whatever would fit for me. So I made a pledge. But I found throughout the year, I was so inspired and so touched by what I would learn here that I found a place that I could be accepted, I could know my friends would be accepted, that I could find a place to call home, and I could even put down multi-generational roots. And so my mother now loves to come in on Zoom, even though she lives in Oceanside, and I love to contribute here and inspire. This place inspires me. I feel supported. I feel cheered on and partnered with what happens here. So what do I do with all that? Well, I have this saying, I just shared it with Mary, that life is too hard to do alone, and it's too fun not to share it. And so I found just by serving margaritas at the auction, being an usher, getting involved with the Ukrainians, ways to get involved. But there is a need for treasure. As Joel said, we have time, treasure, and talents. And that slide inspires me every week with all the people that help put on this service. And so now, I know our budget committee is waiting to know, but how much will we have in pledges? So I'm glad I made a pledge last year. I went above and beyond it, and I plan to do more this year. And so I encourage you to consider pledging. It's fun, and it's not a high-pressure thing, but it's a way to be part of this community. There's a time throughout the year, too, that I would think, what if this didn't exist? And then I would want to build it. And I thought, but it's already here. So if I pledge, it'll stay longer and even grow. And so that inspires me when I think, do I want to invest here and give more? And so that's inspired me throughout the year to give even more. And so as pledging opportunities come up in the next few weeks, I'll be gone the next 3 weeks, unfortunately, in D.C., working for climate change. But I'll be back in a month, and hopefully we'll see the pledge drive was successful. So thanks for hearing me.
Thank you, Craig. Now, please join us in singing We Gather Together, a song that puts our intentions into words and expresses our gratitude for the many gifts we share.
We gather together, we gather as one, for peace, love, and justice for everyone. We give from our hearts to show that we care. We can change lives with what we share.
All right, now is that time, that weekly ritual, that wonderful weekly ritual that we have, where you get to honor a joy or a sorrow, something that has struck you at the core of your heart, anything from the last days, weeks, or hours, And you are invited, one and all, whether you want to be you're either a member, a friend, or a visitor, to participate in this ritual of joys and sorrows. And this is Bertie Reed. She's one of our pastoral care team members, and she'll be here to assist you in lighting your candles. So the idea is that you come forward for any joy or sorrow that you have and light a candle. It's a way of embodying that joy or sorrow. And if you want to share it with the community, you can do so by filling out a slip of paper. Some of you were given when you first came in here. The ushers have them over here. And then you can fill it out and come forward, light your candle, and then we'll read them out loud. And of course, Zoomers are wonderful Zoomers. If you would like to write it in the chat, Bertie will light a candle for you and we'll read those out loud as well. So please come forward, light your candle, and then we'll read them out loud. So I'm going to read those joys and sorrows from our Zoomers first. So Hannah A. says that she's celebrating with joy that her father is finally home from the hospital and asking for a candle of continued healing as he is still struggling with some major health issues. And Melody D., which is also thumbs up by Hannah. Melody D. Hey, Melody, we haven't seen you. We love Melody, right? We know who she is. All right. So she says, I am so grateful for Zoom. I am too. All right. Sharon, oh, no, that was directly to me. I don't think that was a concern. Let's see here. Marilyn F., who just had surgery, she says, Joy says, I'm very grateful to all my OCUU friends who offered prayers and thoughts for my hip replacement last Monday. It was very successful, and I'm resting happily at home. Thank you all. Yay. And Matthew P. has a candle of concern. He says, my husband Alex and I are looking to move to Salt Lake City by the end of the year. He says, please pray that we are able to get there in a timely manner. Okay, we will. But you can come online. So this is Alex, Matthew's husband, is here. Okay, let's see here. Deborah Q lit a candle. She said for Craig Preston's pledge testimonial and for the joy and enthusiasm he brings to OCUUC. Ain't that true? And Peggy H. lit a candle of gratitude. She says, for this loving, supportive community I have found at OCUUC. She said, yesterday this was shown to me in many ways, from members randomly stepping up to assist me, schlepping boxes, or helping serve food, to overheard conversations about the helping and support of church members who are experiencing health challenges. So if you didn't know, we had a memorial service here yesterday, and everybody stepped up. It was beautiful. And Kathleen M., she's lit a candle of joy. She's lit a candle of thanks for all those who helped with or attended the celebration of life ceremony held yesterday for Mark Renshaw. She says the service was extremely meaningful to the family and friends. Said it reaffirms for me the strength and beauty of this OCUUC community, for which I am joyful. Thank you. And I want to point out also that these wonderful flowers are in memory of Mark Renshaw from the service yesterday. They're absolutely beautiful, created by Sandy. And then these ones as well. So Tracy D. Lit a candle of joy. She said it was a joy to be able to share some difficult news with a wonder ear yesterday. Thank you. And oh, the news is better today. So Dave Carlson lit a candle of concern. He said, 57 years ago, I wrote my first code that did computer learning. I'm now concerned that computers get smarter and I get dumber. Jolynn, I lit a candle of sorrow because Joel's younger brother's best friend passed at 47 of a heart attack. Aww. She said his name was Tony and he was loved and will be missed. I'm sorry. And Laura GB, one of our slide person back here, she said she lit a candle of healing for our dearest Clover, who had a bad fall at home and broke 4 ribs. Yeah. She's beginning to heal, but has a long road ahead, and she appreciates text messages from this beloved community. You know, Clover, she loves her texting and everything. She gives every emoji there is. It's awesome. So reach out to Clover if you can. Hey, Clover, I'm glad you're here with us today. All right, and Jennifer T. lit a candle of sorrow, she said, for the 8 lives lost trying to come ashore in San Diego this morning. I did not know that. Oh, that's heartbreaking. Oh, let's all take a deep breath. And let us hold in love all the joys and celebrations and all the hurts and sadness, whether they were spoken or silent. Let our joys remind us to be thankful, our concerns remind us to hope, and our sorrows remind us to connect. Let all these moments remind us that we're not alone. Please join Bertie in a spirit of prayer. This is a prayer that I collaborated with ChatGPT on.
Holy mystery of life. In joy and sorrow, we turn to you, holding both with compassion and care. May our joys be multiplied in community and our sorrows be lessened through love and support. May we find strength and solace in one another as we navigate the mysteries of life. May it be so. Amen. Blessed be.
Let us join together as we extinguish the flame of our chalice and say together, we extinguish our chalice, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Thank you for joining us this morning. We are a congregation made up of people who all believe differently, and yet, when we gather together, whether we are in the room or on Zoom, we make up one loving community. We need not think alike to love alike. If you are a guest or a visitor who is someone who has not yet been known to us, I invite you to become a part of this beloved community. We encourage you to either write in the chat, or if you are a Zoomer or if you are a roomer, to stand for a brief moment and tell us your name and where you are from. A microphone will be passed around so that you can share.
Hi, my name is Sarah Carlson. I know it's been so while. I can tell you what my little background is I've been experienced with homeless, and I've been many friends of locations. Like since I met a friend, here, I met him at Anaheim. But in my experience, in my journey, I would like to learn all different jurisdictions of becoming to be one. So I would like to be a member. So please don't, I know you guys don't recognize me. I'm a neighbor to my friend right here. So I appreciate it. I will give you all my love to all you guys. And I'm truly kindful, and I'm truly faithful to come here today.
Welcome. Any other visitors? Yes.
We'll reintroduce. I'm Margaret Armstrong. My husband, Scott, we were members of this congregation for 25 years before we relocated to Wilmington, North Carolina, to be close to our daughter and our grandchildren. And we're moved to be here today because we came for Mark's memorial service and to support Kathleen. And we're happy to be here on a Sunday so that we can reconnect with those of you that we know well and those of you that we know just passingly, and to see all the wonderful faces of people that we have no idea who you are, but we're so happy you're here.
Welcome back. Go ahead and go through this. Or do I? Yes. All right. Thank you again. If you'd like to know more about our church, including programming for our youth and children, please contact us at hello@ocuuc.org, and we will help you get connected. In addition, we invite you to sign up for our weekly email called The Blast at blast@ocuuc.org. We want everyone to feel a part of this beloved community. So please reach out and we will help you get connected.
All right, so announcements. There we go. So the big one that I want you all to pay attention to is that next Sunday we're launching our pledge drive, and we're getting wonderful food here. We're going to have the French food with the mimosas. Yes, it's going to be very, very grand. So come stay. For those of you online, come in, we miss you. Come on down. So it's going to be a wonderful time. We're going to make it entertaining and fun, and we've got raffles. So the idea is that you, every time you turn in your pledge card, you get your name, and it can be whatever amount that it is that you can afford and do and everything, and we encourage that. And then, so you put your name in a raffle in different bowls, and we're going to be pulling out each week for like 3 or 4 weeks a name from that. So the sooner you get your pledge in, the more opportunities you have to win the raffle prize. So come on out. That's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to have a great time. And I hope you like crepes because it's going to be good. Anyway, and there are also gluten-free crepes and vegetarian crepes and all sorts of crepes. So vegan even. So all sorts of things. So you can see there's just all these wonderful things going on here. So I encourage you, if you aren't already, get involved. Reach out to hello@ocuc.org. Reach out to me. Other people here can help you get involved on everything because that's so much fun to do all of these things. So I did ask ChatGPT for final words, and I said, can you tell me a joke? And it said this. It said, as we navigate the uncharted territory of AI, may our moral compasses stay true and our error messages be few. Let us sing our benediction.
Let us go out and all do our part. Let us go out, bring joy to each heart. Let us go out, with indifference destroyed. Let us go out with joy. Let us go out and all do our part. Let us go out, bring joy to each heart. Let us go out, with indifference destroyed. Let us go out with joy. Let us go out with joy. Let us go out with joy.
This service is over. Let our service continue.